Right, I am back with another Destiny 2 video, and this is the big one. Well, the big initial one anyway. I resisted making a few hours first impressions video yesterday, mostly because I was so wrapped up in playing the new season and the new content. That's probably the most single day amount I've played Destiny in a very long time, obviously, because Season of the Hunt, there wasn't much going on for a while there outside of the occasional Hawkmoon related quest and things like that. But now Season of the Chosen has launched, and we can kind of get a sense of how that's going. I wrote a longer article about this today, but I'm doing videos now, and I want to go a little bit deeper into my thoughts. If I transcribed all this, it'd probably be the equivalent of like 8 articles, so just bear with me. We finally got the cutscene to open things up. That was so everyone was waiting for all last season. I think that showed up in the Vidoc, not the season trailer, which is why everyone was so confused. It's just something that would happen later. Long and short of it is that we have Keitel coming into the system, who is Callus's daughter, who she overthrew him in a coup a long time ago. And now she is trying to fight back against Savathun, Xivu Arath, who's messing with her Cabal and just the darkness in general. And she wants our help because she has seen us, kicking Cabal ass all over the place. And now she thinks that we'd be good allies. We would be good allies. We'd be great allies. However, her stipulation is that Zavala has to bow, and in turn, all of humanity has to bow. This is stupid, considering how much we just destroy the Cabal at every turn, so Zavala says no. And Keitel, meanwhile, busies herself trying to recruit ex-Red Legion folks. Weird way to describe the Cabal. To try and prove themselves, like they've been defeated, but if they can, reclaim the glory of the Empire or something by proving themselves through combat, then they can be let into her war council. So technically, we are fighting Red Legion again, even though we thought we weren't going to, along with a few of Keitel's champions. And what that means is we are doing a new activity called Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds, we didn't really know what to make of at first. We just knew it was a 3-man activity. How it works in practice is that it takes place in a patrol zone. It is mostly old areas from what we know so far. I think the Nessus one has a little bit of a newly built out space that I believe will feed into the Strike that comes later in the season. I think the Europa one is entirely old areas as you go into the Well of Infinitude or whatever that's called. They are essentially broken up. They're about as long as Strikes. They're broken up into 2 parts where it's kind of a wave clearing thing twice. Either you have to kill some enemies that drop some keys to make you move on, or you have to kill 3 enemies that drop balls that you have to blow up generators with. Generators that I might say you have to hit really square on in order for them to blow up. I've lost many a unstable orb to trying to hit it from a diagonal and just bounces off, or you lose the orb. I think it's fun. I think I can see how it could get repetitive, but it is really non-stop firefight and combat. I think the mechanics are a little dull, and it's not really as involved as something you would have seen in Menagerie or Sundial, but I think they just wanted it to be sort of coherent for 3 people to randomly jump in and do it. I think it's pretty fun to, especially when they throw champions in the mix, it becomes a little more challenging. I'm curious if there's going to be a level above 1230, because everyone's already blowing past that. And it would be slightly strange if these just kept getting easier and easier and easier as time went on, and there was no kind of ultimate Battlegrounds difficulty or something. I said that about the Wrathborn hunts too, and those never got any harder, so we'll see. I mean, it's not like there isn't other hard content to do, which I'll get to, but it would be a little strange to me if these just stuck at 1230, kind of right off the bat here, just given that everyone's going to overlevel that in about 48 hours here. The highlight is probably the end bosses, which are kind of the same but also different, where they both have immunity mechanics where you have to kill some sub-boss twice to get their immunity shield to drop. They have a lot of health. I know I said this was easy, but they are just meaty enemies. They have a ton of HP, and they each have a different mechanic so far. The Golem Colossus guy can throw up a shield that makes the arena a lot more claustrophobic, and it's annoying to try and deal with that. The other guy, what does he do? I don't even remember. He's just his thing is like he's just kind of slowly backing up a hill, and he can shred you with his little Legionnaire cannon. And there's always Cabal drop pods slamming into you everywhere. So he doesn't really have a direct thing like the shield, but it is mechanically a different fight. And I like that one. I like the going up the hill mechanic. Both of these fights, it's crazy how many enemies there are. Like once you get them down to especially like the final third and they kind of take their final position on the map, there are just so many enemies in here. Like it's wild how many enemies they've jammed in there. And it does become hard just from the sheer volume of enemies, even if you are over leveled for it. I don't think I've done like a flawless no death run yet, mostly because I just keep getting hit by Cabal pods, as you will see over the course of this video. And so this all leads into the new mechanic of these chests at the end, where you have this thing called the Hammer of Proving, where it's like the thing you upgrade over the season, and then you'll slam it into these chests, and that will give you seasonal loot. Then you use runs of Battlegrounds to get the materials that you need to focus Umbral engrams, and the Umbral system is back, and you will also have to upgrade that over the course of the season. Like you have to get 2,000 SMG kills to be able to, target focus an SMG or a sidearm with a double perk option at the end, which I think is cool. I think that's a cool idea, and I'm just glad to see Umbrals back in general. There are 2 more Battlegrounds to come. There's one in the Cosmodrome and one on the moon, I think. And I'm expecting them to be somewhat similar to this. I think the bosses will be different and have slightly different mechanics, but I'm not expecting kind of the base structure of it to change. Again, I can see how this can get repetitive. If this is the only way you can focus Umbrals, like just doing this forever seems a little weird. I have really enjoyed using Skyburner's Oath. I'm not doing it in this video because I need to get Tiku's Perdition, whatever it's called, Tiku's Divinity. Tiku's Divination, that's what it is. I was calling it Tiku's Wrath all day yesterday. I need to get kills for that. I got the Skyburner's Catalyst, and I have been just shredding that because it has all these anti-Cabal stuff, and it's anti-barrier this season, and it like pops Centurion shields, and you can spawn Warmind cells with it. Like it is a pretty wild weapon for something that is mostly just Cabal-based mob clearing. So I highly recommend you check out Skyburner's Oath. If you haven't yet, or in the last 3 years or so, or however long it's been since anyone used that for anything. The Catalyst drops from any playlist activity, I think, and it should drop pretty quickly if I had to guess. Moving on, we have the Helm, which is like a sort of a new social storytelling space. It's not like there's other people in there, it's just kind of your space. It's very empty right now, but they say it will become more developed as time goes on, so I'm curious to see how that works. I talked about the story, and the story's pretty basic, like just troll Keitel by killing all of her would-be, war council members. I'm impressed with how many people have done, or how many voice actors have signed up to do voice work for this. I've said before that usually only 1 or 2 people a season are doing voice work for an entire season. Like even in the good seasons, like Seasons in the Forge, I'm pretty sure it was 801 was the only person who talked that entire season. Here we have Keitel, we have Zavala, we have Crow is back, Osiris is back from last season, so there's a continuation thread there. And then they even brought people in like Lord Saladin and Amanda Holiday, where like you don't see them really, like they don't really do anything, but they're calling the shots on some of these missions. There's some like fun interactions between like Osiris and Saladin, or Crow and Saladin, and Crow's trying to be all like pacifist and like maybe violence isn't the answer, and Saladin's like, it absolutely is the answer. So that's pretty funny to see. I like, them actually realizing their full cast. I'm sure that is difficult and expensive to do because it's not just, they have to record 30 lines a season. It's all the languages they have to use. So much so that I think they had to recast some of the roles in some of the countries because of COVID and making that hard. But I really like seeing that. I'm excited for that. I guess we can go into the loot now. There's a lot of loot, a lot more. I know we lost a bunch of stuff through sunsetting, but so far the loot seems to be panning out pretty well. I really like all of the Battlegrounds weapons so far, and the new perks that we're discovering. Among the best ones, there's just a perk called Frenzy, which just increases your like damage, handling, and I think reload speed if you're in combat. Which, when do you need weapon perks when you're not in combat, really? I don't know if it'll stack as much damage as something like Rampage or something, but that's been a really fun perk to get on things like the sidearm and the SMG. I have it on a bow, which has been cool. And then after the rocket launcher buff, they've added a couple new rocket launcher perks. There's one that I think increases velocity or something, but the fun one is, I forget what it's called, but it's essentially time payload, but for a rocket. So you shoot a rocket and it like sticks into a boss, and then you wait like 5 seconds, and then it blows up for even more damage. So it kind of makes it like impossible to mob with, but if you're using it as a pure DPS weapon, using that plus the rocket buff plus like boss spec plus like a well or something, it's wild. And like the little bit of Gambit I played, I've had a couple people using those kinds of rockets, and like you thought Lament could kill a Primeval Fast. Like if you coordinate rockets and have enough of them, like you can nuke a Primeval and you won't even have to risk being in, sword distance. It's pretty crazy. And just, general boss damage, period. I don't know all the, hyper advanced boss strats and what the exact ideal DPS loadout is now. I'm not that deep into the rabbit hole, so I'll leave it to those very smart dudes and ladies to tell me how that's going. But just from what I've seen, it seems very strong. And I don't know. We'll see how the meta shakes out. I have not gotten any of the new playlist weapons, that so much so that I had to ask people if they actually existed. They do. The drop rate is just very low apparently, so I haven't seen any of those yet myself. I know some people have gotten Shadow Price from the Nightfall Ordeal. I've only done about 2 Nightfall Ordeals so far, so I haven't had that drop yet, but people seem to really like it. It sounds like people are going to like Adept, trying to find Adept versions of those. I feel like they're going to have to keep adding more of these to, like per season if they want to keep that engaging. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Is there anything I'm not so keen on? I don't love the strikes that they brought back. Like mechanically, they're fine. I don't like the way they brought them back. Like I had a weird thing where the first 2 times I did Sepix Prime, it had no voice lines at all. So I thought that maybe this was their answer to, well, how do we integrate this into the story? Well, we just won't, and we'll just have you run it with no voice. Turns out this is some sort of bug that's going around. So that happened on my strike. That happened in my Clovis Bray Exo challenge. Like Clovis Bray didn't say anything, so I think there's some sort of dialogue bug going around. I know it is the old lines though. The point is they've reused the old lines from the Destiny 1 campaign, and these strikes are pretty much like nostalgic flashbacks of the strikes we've done in the past. And I don't really love that. It seems like Destiny is starved for content enough where any new content they add should be furthering the story in some way. So someone said something about a Luke Smith quote about how like Vault of Glass was going to feed into the ongoing narrative when it returned, and they weren't just going to like randomly put stuff in there. I don't know the exact quote, but like if that's true, then this is pretty much exactly what that is. So there's no new story components to this at all. They changed the mechanics a little bit, like the servitor at the end gets immune, and you have to kill a bunch of sub-servitors to make him unimmune. So mechanically, it's a little different. It was no joke as a Nightfall. Like it's serious business, especially the I don't know. The first 2 encounters are harder than the final boss, but that's kind of always how that strike was. And I also don't like how they brought those back, and the Cosmodrome was exactly the same size. They haven't added to it at all. I thought that was kind of assumed, and it seemed they said in the past that they were going to more fully flesh out the Cosmodrome as time went on. So I don't know what happened to that or when that's gonna happen, but that's not ideal. I like the season challenge system. That's something I do like, actually. I think it's pretty basic. It's copying what a bunch of other games have done, but I think for Destiny it works. It's better than the weekly bounty system that you have to do on all 3 characters. Making it account wide is very nice for solo players, and then for people that have multiple characters, it kind of reduced the requirements pretty severely. Like I think I did 3 Gambit matches, and I was at like 47%, and I'm like, oh man, this is like even more Gambit matches. Then I'm like, oh wait, no, it's per account. So like I finished it by my 2nd character, when normally if I was doing all the weekly bounties, it probably would have been 3 or 4 extra games. So especially Might of the Traveler, it might have been like 20 extra games for that bounty. So overall, I think it's a good system. The hammer upgrades are kind of integrated into that, so you will want to be doing some, at least of the top line weekly challenges every week to upgrade the hammer. We seem pretty hard locked into only a few upgrades this week that don't do very much. And yeah, there's a lot to do. Like there's so much to do. I took forever to do the Skyburners Catalyst. I am working on Tiku's Divination. Yeah, I got it. Tiku's Divination's Catalyst now. And I'm working on getting the new Mountaintop, or Salvager's Salvo, which is not actually the new Mountaintop, but it seems fun. I was right. It has Chain Reaction. I told you. Chain Reaction and Ambitious Assassin. So that's very cool. I'm curious to see how that works in practice. And then I'll work my way up to higher level Nightfalls to try and get some of the new weapons there. And the goal right now is to also get into the Legend Lost Sectors to start farming the new exotic chess pieces, including there's a Titan one that buffs Thunder Crash, which I'm very excited about because I really love Thunder Crash, and more so than is probably good because it's terrible, generally speaking, but I really like it. So I'm excited for that. So I know everyone's going to say, like, okay, it's a new season. Like, you're just excited. Everyone's going to be bored in a week. Maybe, like, I get it, and I understand, especially how like Battlegrounds can be dull, over time if it's kind of repetitive like that. But I think there's enough coming. There's a secret exotic quest. There's a new strike. There's probably going to be some story stuff. There's new Battlegrounds. There's a lot of stuff coming, and also I think you can get at least some sense of how a season's going to go. Like, I said this on Twitter, but like I did like 2 Wrathborn hunts, and I was like, okay, this is not a good activity. Like, I don't really like this, and like that was it. They didn't change or get better over time. Like, you could get a good impression of that pretty fast. Reckoning and Gambit Prime, that whole season was really convoluted with the armor drops and the Taken and the Bridge of Fought. Like, immediately that was like, okay, I hate this. But then like, better seasons, like everybody loved Menagerie right away, and like I don't know if people love Battlegrounds, but I think it is certainly a better seasonal entry than many we've seen in the past, whether that's Wrathborn hunts or the 2 seasons that were essentially just public events as the main activity, Worthy and Arrivals. And I think we're already in a better place than that. I think Loot is probably in a better place than that. And there's a lot of stuff I want to pursue. So I will be, actively playing this for a good amount of time. I expect to run out of stuff to do eventually, because that's always how it works. You cannot have 100% uptime in a game like this unless you're grinding out PvP like crazy. And okay, we can't go down that rabbit hole. I haven't seen too many PvP players like raging. Like, they seem to be having a pretty good time. Just generally, there were some stasis nerfs, but it's still pretty prevalent. We'll see what happens with Trials this weekend. I know there's new armor to go for, new weapons. Some of the Trials weapons now have perks that are like only exclusive to Trials weapons. So that's like new ones that they just invented for this. There's something where if you slide, your fusion is like no charge time or something. So see how that goes. But yeah, so I'm about to go put together my Titan to go run some ordeals. Thinking Risk Runner with Overload and my Night Watch for Anti-Barrier. Yes, I go double primary because I'm sick of using Ariana's Vow all the time. And also no one ever does anti-champion stuff in the matchmaking part. So we'll see how that goes. It was pretty brutal on my Warlock, to be honest. People were struggling, myself included. But I'm having a good time with it, and I think this is a solid start to the season and kind of kicking things off on a good note here. We'll see what happens as time goes on, how fast interest fades or what they introduce to boost interest. I've heard some data mine things that I won't go into here, but those sound pretty exciting to me, based on what I'm hearing from that. It's not like crazy stuff, but it's, I'm pretty excited about where this season could go and how it evolves week to week. And yeah, I think we're at a good start here. And yeah, that's all I got for today. I'm going to go back to the grinds. You can get Evie. Are you in view? I told you, she's here every time. Okay, we can only see your ears, Evie. I guess that's all people are going to get today. So she's loafing. She's wearing out a hole in the carpet on that spot. But all right, I will see you guys next time, and say hi to me in the field if you see me. I don't use my name. I'm JohnnyQuest18. If you want to give me a wave or something. If you add me as a friend, my friend list is kind of a nightmare, so I might not see you or be able to add you. But just say hi. I'm always around. But okay, I'll see you guys later. Take care.